The other day, the cowboy drummer posted a short on his YouTube channel where he compared 5 different Evans drumheads tuned to the same tuning with a TuneBot. The 5 drumheads in question were the Hydraulic Clear, the G2 Coated, the UV2 Coated, the EC2S Clear, and the HD Dry Coated. I thought this was a particularly interesting short because at first listen through my phone speaker, I actually couldn't hear a difference. He did do a very good job of keeping the only variable in this test, the drum head, because he used the same drum, he used the same microphone, the same stick, he hit them with a very consistent hit, and again, he tuned them all to the same exact frequency using a TuneBot. Now, I happen to be an NVH engineer, which stands for Noise, Vibrations, and Harshness, so one of my primary job duties is to critically listen to and analyze sounds. So I thought it'd be fun to take those sound samples that he created for us and put them into my fancy NVH software. In this case, I like to use Head Acoustics Artemis Suites and analyze them and let you guys see how I do these things. The first thing I did after I took the audio and brought it into Artemis Suite was I looked at the waveforms using the Mark Editor function and I measured the sustain of each drum. So I looked at the waveform, I put the one cursor right where the hit began, and then I put the other one right where this little nudge ended, and then that told me the exact time for that sustain. And again, if you haven't seen the short, he did 2 hits on each head individually. So doom doom, change the head, doom doom, change the head, change doom, da ba ba. So my findings were that the EC2 Clear had the longest sustain, and surprisingly, the HD Dry Coated had the shortest sustain. So surprising because I imagine the Hydraulic would have the shortest sustain, but they're really so close they may as well be exactly the same. So the next thing I wanted to do was look at the FFT of these all 5 drum heads. So the FFT is basically for your frequency analysis. It looks at the frequency response of the sound file across the entire length of it. And again, I divided it into just one hit of each head, so it generated this plot. This works much like the equalizer on a DAW, in that you have your frequency charted on your x-axis and the amplitude on the y-axis. So you're like 100 hertz and below, that's going to be your sub frequencies. 100 to like 1,000, 2,000, that's your mid frequencies, and up there is kind of like your treble frequencies. So a couple observations I found. Again, did a great job of tuning these all to the same frequency because they all have this hump right around here at like 170 hertz something, give or take. So very consistent there, and then everywhere else the heads start to diverge. So one thing that stuck out immediately, the Hydraulic Clear has this interesting dip right at 41 hertz that none of the other drum heads have. It's really interesting. Again, this 41 hertz, that's like something you'd hear in a kick drum, not so much in a 12-inch rack tom. But again, this head does this, and it's the only one that does it. That's really interesting. And also interesting to that fact, the HD Dry has a bump there. It's above the other heads at that frequency. So interesting. Just something to listen for if you want to try and listen to that again. Again, there's something here. There's a bump between the fundamental frequency of the tone, the fundamental tone of the drum, and its first harmonic. This is the UV2 Coated has this, so I guess that means it might have a little more low end, because that low end is expanded right here, like 220 hertz. Yeah, 220 hertz. And it also has that's another bump up here at 1550 hertz that the other drum heads don't have, which is, again, very interesting. Back to the Hydraulic Clear, we can see it has the least amount of top end of all the drum heads. It's down here below them all. Whereas the G2 Coated actually has this interesting bump here at, what is that, 3000 hertz, give or take? And in general, the G2 Coated and the EC2S Clear, those have the most top end. But yeah, both the HD Dry, which is the purple here, and the Hydraulic Clear have the least amount of top end. So, something interesting. And the third thing I wanted to put together was a set of color maps. Now, color maps are a way to view sound in 3 dimensions. You got your time on the x-axis, you got your frequency on the y-axis, and then the colors are basically like a scale, or they're your spectrum. Blue colors are going to be your quietest, red colors are going to be your loudest, and then your green, yellow, orange, that's everything in between in that order. So the color maps you can see the frequency content and the sustain in the same chart. So some of the interesting things I've noticed, the EC2S has a lot more harmonic content than the other heads, which is really interesting. It does seem to have the longest sustain through that. And like I noticed, like I pointed out, the hydraulic clear had that dip at 41 hertz. You can see it's missing that content down here, which is very interesting. You can see stuff like the UV2 coated, these harmonics kind of sustain longer in this compared to something like the HD dry coated. But you still get that fundamental tone, it's still ringing out just about the same amount, but in things like these pre-muffled drum heads, those harmonics are what stop resonating quicker. But again, we're also talking about things that die away in the span of 3 seconds, what these ran out to be. But yeah, there's a little bit of a scientific analysis of some drum heads. Don't know if anyone's ever done this before, but I felt like doing it and I wanted to have fun with it. So hope you enjoyed this.